dear audience, welcome to our EUTECH podcast series. My name is Müge Çeteli.
This Visions for Europe podcast is brought to you by the European Technology Chamber and the European Senate of Economy and Technology.
Beatrice, for those amongst the audience who do not know you or haven't heard of you so far, you have had many careers in one. That's what you can say. You are a PR, a marketing professional. You are also a TV journalist, a moderator, a political scientist, a publicist, an author. Is there anything that I forgot?
No, I think I'm also, I'm a consultant for tech companies, of course. It's important because together with my colleague Suna, we founded a tech consultancy for tech companies and startups. It's called Star Climber. And this is our new project, relatively new project, but Suna is longer in this job than me, tech consultancy. So this is a very important new step forward.
You graduated from studies in political science, so that's how your career began. Constitutional law and literature sciences. You became a doctor in this field and specialized in foreign affairs. And today, you're a member of the managing board of the Foreign Affairs Association in Munich, a columnist at the European, a member of the board of trustees at the Kavala International University in Minnesota, a German consultant of Mohammed bin Rashid Aerospace Hub in Dubai, and a board member in the Women in Tech Alliance at EUTECH. This is an amazing career and so much colors. You bring so much insights into diverse positions, diverse domains, and it only shows also a little bit of the great woman that you are and that you represent, and how this is a model for many women in our society. So
thank you very much for the compliment, but it only reflects the diverse interests I have, but on the end they meet in one: foreign policy, foreign countries, foreign cultures, technology, and that's it. And write about it and talk about it. That's a journalism fact.
And curiosity and open-mindedness and creativity and interest and inclusiveness and all these other traits that make you who you are. And we've had several exchanges, you and I, so far. We have discussed many aspects of what you did. I would like to get back to the last career step that I mentioned. Since August 2021, you are a board member in the EUTECH Women in Technology Alliance. Could you tell us a bit more about what evoked your interest in EUTECH and what made you join the board of one of the most strategic alliances in the chamber?
Yeah, I was invited by the Bavarian Ministry of Economy to take part at your first big event. It was the EUTECH Africa event, and I took part there with my new company Star Climber. And this was the first step to EUTECH. I thought it was a great idea. And for the strategic board membership in Women in Tech, it's true, I'm a woman and I'm a tech consultant. Together with my colleague Suna, she's also a woman. We are two female tech consultants. So this is a very clear decision then.
How amazing, isn't it? We wish for young women to get this as an eye-opener and to move in this direction as well. We need more women in the tech industry, in the tech field. And this shall also indicate that we don't need to have studied mathematics or physics to step into that domain of activities, right?
Of course, yeah.
So at EUTECH, as you know, we have some principles, one of which is that technology obliges. So in a world where technology moves fast, develops fast, there are increasing opportunities linked to those developments, but also a certain degree of responsibility arising from it. And so looking at the world politics, if we take this as a thought, And the way that those world politics evolved in the past 50 years, what would you consider the biggest promise brought by technological developments from a point of view of sustained societal development?
Well, it is in connection to policy. Technology it means one thing, as we know in the balance of power system, yeah, media, for instance, where I come from, is known as the fourth power. Means it is the addition, or it's also a power of like legislative power, like traditional power, and like executive power. So, and here in this connection, tech means tech was the mean of distribution. Before in all these years, like the printing presses of the media, the TV technology, and so on. That's the mean of distribution of information, education, and opinion, of course. Social media now, the new aspect, or not so new anymore, but the aspect of the modern times, brought in the aspect of exchange. This time it is that people can take part. They can also in exchange take part in this contribution. They can contribute to information, to education, and all these facts. This is the new factor in it. And it could lead to a vision like it is called Electronic Republic from Lawrence Grossman. He was one of the leading journalists of NBC, as I think. And he painted a picture that people control political decision making through their possibilities through social media, because they are so they got so much power to exchange, to answer first the policies of the governments and the politicians, that they are there in time, in exchange. Therefore, there's another aspect that should not be forgotten. The education of this mass that is now so powerful is important. It is important and should be improved also, because the risk of misinformation and mismanagement of information is big. It is always an influential process, means politicians also want to influence and sell their policy to the people, of course. Yeah, they want to sell their policies. But on the other hand, it is also important that the people reacting on this know what they talk about. They don't they were distracted by false informations, and also very often also manipulated informations. Yeah, there is also, of course, an intent of the opposite side to influence the political mood. So this is the exchange between policy and media, and of course social media.
You mentioned the importance of education of the masses, so as to be able to use, you mentioned social media in particular in a certain way, and looking at that particular aspect, how do you think that those social media can enable societal impact on politics?
Social media can enable, of course, because they take part in people can take part in the political process, yeah, and if it is used the right way, it is important that governments and politicians become more transparent. They have to become more transparent. They are forced to be more transparent, that people understand the way they intend their policies to go. They can take part as it is. This is a very important fact.
Does it to some degree have also something to do with equality in opportunities, because we create our opportunity to voice our thoughts, and therefore we create the impact that we would like to have or see in society? Do you see also a little bit of that tendency that is at least being tried by society, and in particularly by the young generations.
Yes, of course, it's equality of opportunity. It is also that you take in your hands your own image, yeah, in social media. We didn't prepare this fact, but it is true. You are your own public relation manager in social media. You are not dependent on a journalist. Journalists are educated, yeah. They have to construct their questions in a way that fits to their press organ, for press paper or for the press concern they're working for. But if you are busy on your own on social media, you can publish what you want. You can present you as you see yourself or want to be seen by yourself and by the others, and it's more on your own how to represent. You are not you cannot be directed to by others if you don't want.
And interestingly enough, I mean, it's an opportunity to be transparent. Now, the question is whether people are, or whether they would like to use that interface to describe a life or a positioning that is not necessarily very reflective of their own. We have been talking about fairness and justice as well, and how fairness and justice is also the product of our own interpretation, and that society evolves, right?
It's a question of perception, how you perceive your surrounding, how you perceive yourself, and how you, vice versa, are perceived by the others. And through social media, you can influence this better, how you want to be perceived.
Exactly. And basing ourselves on that last thought, the way we want to be perceived might reflect our values, but it doesn't necessarily have to. At EUTECH, another principle that we have is that we aim at connecting values across borders and building bridges towards inclusiveness and collaborative businesses. So this is maybe not from an individual point of view, but as we know, any business and any collaboration is the collaboration and business between people and their values. And what do you think is the biggest hope in that respect that technological developments carry today? Is there any hope that this hope gets realized, and to which degree is that probable?
Yes, this is a question I also was busy with my approach of PETS, a foreign policy ecosystem. This means that you bring technology in the middle, new technology, sustainable technology. And if I say sustainable or clean tech, I have also a value added to it, yeah? And with this value, you transport value across disciplines as well as across borders. If you put technology in the middle, technology should help people in their development, in their become more just and sustainable, but also a more just sustainable society. Yeah, it's in the core. An equal society. This is the value behind it. And everyone around the world should participate, or should be able to participate in this. Yeah, this is the goal of this tech inventors. They were founding Silicon Valley, that create a more just and sustainable world, a wealthy society with equal chances, and everybody around the world can participate and prosper from it. So this was the core value, and this seems to be also the core value of EUTECH, to bring technology developments around the world, and especially value added with sustainable tech and clean tech. And so we transport also values across borders and across societies.
We see currently, and this is also subject of our many discussions, you and I, we see currently a tendency to go more local and less global. Even younger generations favor local over global. However, there are certain topics where we cannot allow ourselves to remain local. We need to open up to the world and collaborate. And this collaboration should go beyond the simple networking. Therefore, since both concepts are oftentimes used exchangeably, maybe we can look into how to distinguish networking from collaboration, and how you frame both of these concepts?
Well, networking is a procedural component. That means you can network with somebody saying, hello, how are you, making contacts, yeah? There is no, for me, there is no content, no real described contents inside it. You can network about everything. Collaboration is a more content-oriented expression. Means you have a common goal. If you collaborate, you have a common goal. So this is content-based, and these are parts of a puzzle that you can put together to create a world. If you say the global perspective of or intent of this is you use clean tech to build a world that is sustainable, that is as it is planned by the EU, as it is planned by the United Nations. This is the thing of collaboration, yeah. But on the other hand, you can also do simply networking. Means you have contacts. This is also of value because you have contacts across borders. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have the same values, but you can exchange, and this is also very important. Yeah, you cannot always have the same values. Sometimes it's different, and you have to deal with people that don't have the same values, or in some kind the same values, and nevertheless you have to exchange, and it's not realistic. I'm from the neo-realistic side of the education, from my professor Kindermann, who founded the chair of foreign policy with his Schule of Neo-Realism, of the Munich Schule of Neo-Realism. So I think it is to exchange with everyone in the end, and to try to find a common interest, or to exchange on how you can arrange about interests with everyone.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because the value of cross-border networking also lies in the fact that we get stimulated by different thoughts, by different perspectives that we cannot have from our point of view when we stick to what we know, when we stick to this setup that we progress in. And maybe indeed we do not progress as fast as we could by not letting the external viewpoint come in and enrich our point of view, right? So in that sense, would you say that for a sound societal progress at large in our world, we would need networking, international networking further on, and in the constructive sense, in the open-minded sense, where we include the views of others or consider other point of views?
Yes, of course. This is something to do with to accept that the other is in somehow a bit different, but you have to accept it simply, to be to deal with it, and you can influence each other. What you can expect and what you cannot.
Do you have, and this I haven't asked you in any of our discussions, but do you have a personal anecdote that you could share where you were positively surprised by your own capacity of suddenly seeing the world differently in terms of a particular topic, thanks to all these career steps that you've undertaken so far?
I'm from my person. I'm a very many-folded person. Yeah, I always could accept a lot of things that I maybe not was accustomed to it. Yeah, so I'm not. I had exchanges, especially with the Middle East, and they tell me, "Oh, we have a different kind of behavior. You have to behave that way and that way if you come to Middle East." And I realized suddenly it is not different to my original education, because I was more educated, more old-fashioned, and some of these things they want or they really live are the things I was taught. So it was not, I was really much astonished how many things I really know from my education and from my growing up as a child that are still alive there. We in our Western world sometimes changed this and made it more open and liberalized it. But in the core, it was the same. In the core, some of these things also were in our society, from good or bad. This is the same. The position of man was also in our society a different one, or the position of women, to talk about women, was a different one than it is nowadays. Yeah, we developed also with this position, but it was, when I read the contracts of my father, it was all man-based, male-based. Yeah, and then a woman was not really taken into account. So we changed this for good, of course. But on the other hand, some things we left out, like the family feeling, the family enclosure, what is, I think, of value, especially if we see our old people that are excluded sometimes. Yeah, now we have to learn to include them again in our society with our family, and this is something the Middle East still has. Yeah, and this was a development maybe that was from our society not a good development. Yeah, there are good developments as women become more rights and become more free in their decisions, but there are also bad developments that you exclude or try to exclude everything that is not perfect. Means the people that are not really that are disabled, or also the old persons. So I think the picture of a big family is not a bad one. So therefore, this is what we lost in the Western world to some degree. And
maybe this is also part of the societal progress or impact on society that we were mentioning earlier when we were talking about sound societal progress, right?
Yeah.
Something that we can look into when we network internationally, how other cultures live, and whether there's something that we are missing in our culture, in our way to live, and whether we would like to integrate it, at least to the degree that we can as individuals, right?
Yeah.
And if we look at society from the from the point of view of a sum of individuals, society, and by the way, also corporates, but let's look at the society. We have been talking about the concept of fairness, of justice, and how it varies from place to place. And we have been talking about the opportunity for societal impact on politics thanks to the technological developments such as social media. Now, how, in your view, can technology be a key driver of a more accessible and considerate governance system? So what is the concrete impact that society can have on governance systems thanks to technological developments?
Yeah, we already mentioned it. I think this possibility to take part in the political discussion in time is a very important tool that the society can take part in political decisions. They have a very, very big impact on this with this technology device.
Do you think that point of view could come a bit too early? And what education should society undergo before they try and impose societal views on happenings? We have been talking, you and I, about the impact of the media, for instance, also on what is happening on judging a situation, be it a political situation or a judicial situation that is ongoing and that has not been decided yet. You were mentioning education earlier. What education is advisable for our society?
Yeah, first of all, what is done already, corrective or something like that, they try to explain to the people what they should see. Means they show them what could be wrong and what could be right, because of course they need research, yeah, and they do the research the right way, that they say this is possible, this is what you can believe. The other thing is not possible. This is because the facts are against it, yeah. We have a problem with such movements that we have seen now during the Corona crisis and so on. It is not that somebody can have a different opinion. This is possible. But if it is filled with false facts, it's dangerous. Therefore, I think we should take very much care of explaining political decisions with the right facts, where they come from, and who said I was always talking, if I talk to persons that are a bit addicted to this kind of, that they believe what they see in social media and don't ask who was the one who was publishing it and what are what the facts are. This is an education you should bring to the people, that they ask, who is the one that's telling you this, and where are the facts? How can you research about the facts? Where can you find the facts about this topic? And if you do that, then you can, and it's possible, of course, then you can, you have a better estimation what can be right or wrong in this, and not be driven too much by emotions. This is the other fact that is very important, because the false information comes up with lots of emotion. Oh, this one is doing that, and we will all be dead after this and that. And that. This is an exaggerated emotions that are spread because sometimes with a good, with an intent behind. Yeah, they want them to manipulate and to make them upheaval. And on the other side, I would advise everyone who sees an information that seems to be very tough and very emotional to look around who was the designer of this information, who was the original person that brought it out. And then you can research about some facts that you always have to find in it. If there are no facts inside, take it as an entertainment, nothing else.
And we know that when we look at TV in particular and we read journalistic articles, we see that the journalistic work today, at least in part, includes some detective-like work whereby facts are being researched on and checked as to their truthfulness, right? So it's very interesting that you mentioned that.
Well, because it was in former times, it was called propaganda. This is also made, and you have always to be careful if something is presented with too much emotions. To tell the truth, you're not a hard person if you see it different, but it is important that you see it from a neutral point of view.
And now, looking at this from the other point of view, if we take the other point of view, we know, and you and I have been also having several discussions around that topic. We know that the human race is not prone to no vices, that we are a race that unfortunately is subject to certain disadvantages in our instincts, and certainly correlated, as we have said it, to a certain survival instinct that we have. But if we take that as a point of view, do you think that technology could help, and technological developments could help circumvent those human vices, and how would that work?
Yeah, we know technology that seems to be neutral or is neutral in somehow. We know all about it. It's the good refugee, a more just refugee. Yeah? As you see in races, for ski racing, for instance, it's the person and it's the time that counts. Nobody can evaluate, is he racing in a good way, in a bad way. He has to be fast, and the clock decides about the winner. So this is I think this is a just technology and everybody can win. There's no influence of value who should win or who should not win if you not manipulate the clock. That's something different. So this is a neutral way from technology to prove the winner. If it can be through AI or this artificial intelligence tools, this depends on the person who creates the AI and also who collects the data. It could be quite neutral. It could be, but you have to also think about that. It is created. The program is always created by man, and the collection of data is made by machine. But if there's a bias, there's also a bias in the collection of data and the results on it. Yeah. So you have to be, but it could be quite neutral if this is something that the creators take in mind.
And
The right data,
yeah.
the right purpose could lead to better decisions. Yes, you
And
see that.
data, right? Mm-hmm.
You see that, for instance, the creation of digital twins for sustainable technologies and something like this, and for decision making. If the intentions behind are good, and they are the creators or the scientists are aware of this non-biased approach, then it could be quite good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Beatrice, we're coming to the last part of our podcast. And I would like to talk about a very different topic. However, a very important one that is in our minds predominantly since some years now. Unfortunately, not long enough years, and that's the topic of sustainability. For our generations, but foremost for the generations to come, this is the main war that they need to fight. The ability to manage the remaining resources of our planet well, the ability to find alternative solutions to existing problems and to existing ways to do business and to live life. Now, if the term sustainability has been described several times by several instances and is being understood by people differently. So if I was to ask you how you would describe sustainability in your own words, how would you do it?
Well, sustainable for me means a solid growth program for future generations. You make long-term plans, and therefore you need a constant surrounding around you. So this sustainability has good aspects. You have to preserve your surrounding, means the nature, but also means to keep a peaceful world. Therefore, it is for me a really important value that we should really drive forward. Yeah, this is a value everybody needs. Yeah, it is comparable again to the family values, because if family business existed, family companies existed, they strive to overcome decades. They overcome for a long time. Yeah, so they have to be sustainable in itself. So they have to protect their life work. Yeah, therefore they have to care also for the environment to be healthy and peaceful. So this is, I think, a very important aspect in the connection to peace and nature. So therefore, sustainability, to plan for generations and plan for the world, has something to do with these values, and these are good values we should really try to promote.
So you have already placed peace in connection with sustainability.
Yeah, of course, because as an entrepreneur, as I was grown up with my own family company, you have the goal to preserve it. It was not possible because of structural problems in our branch. But in the end, every entrepreneur strives to keep it alive for the next generations. So what you need a healthy surrounding. You need that everything is in a good substance, and you need a peaceful development, because if we are always confronted with wars from every side, it is always a hard business to keep that going.
And you mentioned green tech also earlier, I remember. How do you think technology could contribute to peace, and always with this filter of sustainability kept in mind?
Yes, technology can contribute to peace if we see this artificial intelligence, for instance, as neutral and as useful and driven forward with the right values behind. It can help you predict catastrophes. It can help you predict if something is going wrong around you. So in this case, the prediction is important, and it's necessary to later on do the right decisions. You can also integrate artificial intelligence in decisions, but the end decision should always be by the man, better human being. Yeah, but you can integrate it in some way where it's helpful. It means where you need a neutral aspect in the estimation or in the perception of a situation. It's not too much based then, yeah? If you can correct a perception through this kind of artificial intelligence, yeah? So this is could also a helpful tool to prevent crises and disasters and come to the right decisions. But this is only a tool. It should never be a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Beatrice, we're coming to the end of our podcast. Thank you very much for these precious insights. Thank you for having spent the time with us.
Thank you also, Miguel.
Thank you for the many great discussions that we had, and hopefully we'll have plenty more to come. Thank you, Beatrice, for your time, and hopefully till very soon again.
Thank you, Müge, and I have to give back the compliment. It's always a real pleasure to exchange with you, and we are both growing with our exchange. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to the Vision for Europe podcast.